Hello and welcome back to my craft room. Before I start, I apologise for any banging you might hear in the background. It's my neighbours banging again, so nothing I can do about it, I'm afraid. This isn't the video I planned to make today, but I just can't wait to get stuck into this. Let me show you and you'll see exactly what I mean. This was a surprise little package sent to me by the lovely Susie Q of Susie Q Makes. Sue does all kinds of amazing, inspiring projects on her channel. I will link it below, so please do go and check her out if you haven't already. So many ideas. Like me, she tries all different kinds of things. And one of the things she's been showing recently is she was dyeing some velvet and threads. And the reason she wanted to do that is because, like me, she wants to try making one of these amazing slow stitched mushrooms that I've seen popping up all over the place just recently. So she made this velvet with a view to doing that, and she has sent me some. I'm so excited. I'll show you in a second. I just want to put this here because I wanted to show you the beautiful envelopes that she always puts things in. She does a lot of jelly printing and things, and I think that's how she's done this envelope. Isn't it beautiful? That will go in my scrapbook of loveliness. Okay, and this is what she sent me. Not this bit underneath. I've got that hiding what's underneath. I'll show you that in a minute. So she put this in a little pack. Mushroom kit. Just make your own stalk. So she's really kindly drawn me out templates to use as well, and she said this wasn't intended to coordinate, although I feel it does, so I'm going to use it for my project. But she put this in because this was the thread that she dyed herself as well, and it's beautiful. Let's bring you down a little bit. How beautiful is that? Lovely variegated greens, yellows, rusty kind of orange colours. Absolutely beautiful. I'm going to really enjoy using that. It feels nice too. This is good, this little bobbin idea, isn't it? I wonder if she has a die for this or a punch. Now, if you go like that, it opens the little shape up so you can put the thread through, and it holds it. How clever is that? Oh, Sue, did you get this as a die? You'll have to let me know. I could do with that. There's my pieces. Here is the star of the show. Oh, that banging is going to drive me nuts. As always, they never bother to say anything ahead of time, so you've got no idea what they're doing or how long it's going to take. Last time it was weeks and weeks of hammering and drilling and angle grinding and really loud building site stuff, and they never even said anything. It went on for weeks. So here is this beautiful velvet. The camera's not doing a bad job, but as always with my camera, imagine everything kind of slightly yellower. So that's a slightly yellower green there, and that's a slightly more towards the turquoisey blue. It's a beautiful purple here that isn't really coming out. There are so many beautiful colours in this, and it's all on this lush velvet, which feels amazing. And this is going to just be perfect for doing these slow stitched mushrooms that we're both very keen to have a go at. Look at all the different colours in here. Fantastic. The idea is going to be to do a lot of slow stitching and stuff over the fabric, over the colours that are already in the fabric for the top of my mushroom. I haven't made one of these before, so I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem to work out how to make a stalk. What I will do is I'll show you now, see if we can get some pictures up so I can give you an idea in case you've not seen these amazing things people have been making. Oh, that's one. I've not seen that one. That's interesting because it's kind of oh no, it's just printed on there. That's just a printed fabric. How amazing. Anyway, these are more like the kind of things I'm talking about. There are so many different variations on this. Love that one. I love the way they've got the kind of sort of shaggy bit you get underneath, just at the top of the stalk there. I love the texture they've added. I love that the stalk is bent. I might even wire my stalk. I'm not sure yet. See how many very different versions there are of this idea. There's a whole book here about making textile mushrooms. Look at that one. Oh my word. I love that. Oh, it's not a book. It's a PDF tutorial. God, $24.96, that's quite a lot for a tutorial, isn't it? But that does look amazing, and that's got a velvet top as well. It's a different one. Oh, that banging, sorry. See how every single person does something different with this. There's no right or wrong way to do this. That's very different again. I like the idea of incorporating some lace, which I haven't actually pulled out yet, but I will. Look at that. I mean, you think about how... Oh, look, denim ones. Oh, wow. If you think about mushrooms in their varying stages of life. So I might have a look at some pictures like this for ideas, but basically I've got a fair idea of a mushroom in my head. And it's going to be quite... Look at that one. It's going to be quite fun working out how to do it. This one's, they've added moss to make it more sort of realistic looking. And I want to do quite a bit of embroidery and stuff on mine as well. I just think I'm really, really, really going to get into this. Look at those. How adorable are they? I think they've used some colour or something on the bottom there, maybe some pastel or something. You can see I could keep looking here forever. If you want to have it, the search term slow stitch mushroom just gave me flat mushrooms. I've put in fabric mushroom in a Google search, and that's brought up absolutely loads. Look at this. I love that shaped stalk. I love the idea of how, but this looks like some of the recycled fabrics you get from Bazaar actually. Some of the cotton ones you get in there. I love how they've got this little scrap of a coarsely woven fabric around the top here, and they've just frayed out the edge to give that idea of that sort of shaggy bit that you get just underneath the cap at the top of the stalk. Silk velvet mushrooms. I don't know how they've done the stalks there. That one they've shaped it underneath. Okay, so I think the thing now is just I'm going to show you what I've pulled together, and I'm just going to jump in. Sue has really helpfully done me these templates for the top and the base or underneath bit. I'm just going to use this just for the top and use other fabrics for everything else, so I can hopefully get 4 mushrooms at least out of this piece of fabric. Yeah. And I'll probably do them in slightly different shapes and sizes to show how, that thing where mushrooms start off kind of with... Well, so it depends on the type, doesn't it? But they might start off with quite a round, kind of long cap like that, and then they gradually open out, and eventually some of them even turn upside down and end up sort of like cups going the other way, if that makes sense. So yeah, I quite fancied playing with some of the different shapes. I said to Sue, "Are you going to do kits? Are you going to put these kits together to sell?" And I just think that would be... I would certainly buy one, especially if it's going to include this beautiful hand-dyed velvet. Let me know in the comments and I'll pass it on to Sue. What do you think? Do you think it would be a good idea to put little kits together to make these mushrooms? I just think it would be fabulous. So what I've done is I've pulled together some fabrics, all different textures and things from my stash that pick up all the different colours that are in this beautiful piece of velvet. And that is a lot of different colours, isn't it? But I want this to be really colourful. It wasn't too difficult to find all the bits and pieces because I've been making up I'm making up some kits of little fabric pieces and trims and things. I'm going to call them slow stitching colour inspiration packs. So each pack will be a different colour family. Hopefully I'll be back in a few days to show you those. It's taken me a few days putting them together. I've put all the fabrics together. I just now need to add the trims and buttons and beads and bits and bobs that are going to go in as well, and then I'll come back and show you. So I had all my fabrics and things out, lots of different scraps and stuff anyways, so I had a little rummage and pulled together a good selection of fabrics for this project. So let me go back to the desk again and show you. I have pulled out way too much as always. But then having said that, I'm going to make at least 4 mushrooms, so bear that in mind. In my defence. So this is just a silk bag, one of my sari silk bag that comes with the Bazaar scrap packs. I'm going to put all this stuff in here to take downstairs with me this evening. So here are the fabrics that I've pulled out. As I say, it's more than I need, but I want plenty to play with. So here I've got the kind of you know, reddish brown kind of, and rusty colours going into red. I tried to get lots of different textures, from that sort of like upholstery velvet to quite lightweight silks like this. It's a really shiny silk and more of a matte silk. Put that that way. That's just a kind of a fine cotton. This one's got a bit of embroidery. This camera doesn't like that at all. There we go. To give it a bit more texture. This is the kind of thing that might make a nice little raggedy edge around the neck of the mushroom. A couple of prints like that. I put some of this in. I've got more of this. I might want a bit of padding. I'm not sure, because I'm not sure how I'm doing this yet. So that's quite a coarse kind of cotton texture. This is a finer cotton. There's a little scrap of wool. I love this is probably one of the reclaimed from Bazaar. I love including bits when it's from reclaimed clothing. I love including bits of the old seams and things, and I think that could work really well around the mushroom stalk. Just there's little bits of print. There's as I say, way too much going into the greens. Oh, a bit more of that brown, purple. I don't know what that's doing there. Kind of turquoisey blue, and then the greens, different shades of green. There's a velvet there, more cotton, more silk. Some cotton that I dyed myself, so that goes quite well actually. Again, more vibrant really than it looks on camera there. So that is a really good, more than, even for the 4 mushrooms, that's more than I need. But as I say, I just want plenty to play with, and I wanted lots of different textures, which is also what I've tried to do in the scrap packs I've been putting together as well. Then oh, and I've also got, what have I done with it? I've put in a little piece of this. I might need more, but there's this silk scarf that I've got, and I thought there's a chance I might try just kind of gathering this up to make the underneath. I think that could work. If I cut it in strips, I might get enough for the 4 out of it. Threads. I've got a selection of threads. So these ones on the wooden spoons are what I've got left from my precious stash of Steph Francis threads, space dyed threads. And I think they all go. They're all variegated, which I love. And I think they all pick up different colours in the velvet. So I think that'll be really nice. And then there's a couple others. These came in a little package from Claire, and I love them again, both variegated. So this one's a stranded cotton and this one's much finer, but it's nice to have the variation. So I've got lots of different textures of thread and colours of thread, and there's this lovely silk one which came in my swap, I believe it was, from Shirley Benson. Beautiful, lovely, smooth feeling. I can't tell you how smooth that feels. I don't understand what the labelling says, but I'm thinking that says 100%. I reckon it's 100% silk, because it just feels like silk. When I was making up the scrap packs, I put aside little pieces, because what I've been putting into the scrap packs has varied from sort of this long to this long trims, but there were some that were really tiny pieces that I just thought were too tiny to put in, but too big to throw away, so they've gone in a bag that I've been keeping for my own use. So I might pull out some of those to use in this as well. And then I've got this little mix of different beads, sequins, little tiny buttons, all kinds of little doodads there that I will stitch onto the top of the mushroom and possibly dangle off it, or stitch around the base, or whatever. I'm not even sure yet where this will be going, but I think that gives me plenty of scope. And just seeing all of these things together with this beautiful piece of velvet from Sue at the centre of it is just making my mouth water, and I'm just itching to get stitching. I'm just going to cut one to start with, because I might decide I want to do the next one bigger or smaller. And I will probably start by just placing some of these things on, and then just start doing some stitching into it. I think what I'll do is give myself a little bit of a seam allowance, because I've got plenty to get 4 out of here. I'll give myself a little bit of a seam allowance. 3's a nice number anyway, so I think maybe I'll aim to get 3 rather than 4. Okay, because 3 will look nice in a cluster together, won't they? So I'm going to put this kind of fairly centrally, I think, and give myself a nice seam allowance. Give me plenty to kind of gather up. Got a erasable pen. I'm going to do it on the other side though. Okay, let's not be fussy. Let's just put it here and give myself a seam allowance and just do it. Keep these little bits. They might do to make a nodule on the stalk or something. See what I mean? Or even a teeny weeny baby mushroom. Now I just want to take some of these beautiful little doodads and add them on. So I think that gives me, yeah, I think that's enough of a smattering of these. So what I'm going to do now is just use some just normal thread to just tack those into place, and then I will start decorative stitching around them. I have placed my sequins and beads, and I'm going to start just doing a bit of embroidery on each one now, and then do a lot of stitching around it into the velvet. I've never actually embroidered on velvet before, so quite looking forward to giving this a go. I've got one of my favourite little chenille needles. I love these pretty ones with the different colour heads for each size of needle. I've got my gorgeous needle case that Susan Marchette made me. Look at this. There's places for everything. Love it. Use this all the time. It's really handy. So all I'm going to do is just stitch into each one and start embellishing it. I've got this orange silk in at the moment. I can't manage to come up in the right place, so that's a good start. There we go. I'm just going to leave the knots on the back. I'm not going to worry about it because you won't see it. And just with some of them I'll just radiate stitches out from them. I'll do some pistol stitches, I think they're called, where you've got like a long line and then a French knot on the end of it. Love that stitch. I'll do some swirly lines of chain stitch going around the place. Quite a lot of probably just straight stitching and French knots. I actually prefer doing colonial knots to French knots. And I want the beautiful velvet fabric to still show, but I want it to be kind of encrusted with stitching as well. I love these little chenille needles because they're short and sharp and they have a large eye, but it's not too fat of a large eye, so I can still get it to go through these sequins and beads quite easily with the fatter fabrics, fatter threads rather. Okay, so just stitch that one on. I'm gonna do maybe a little chain stitch around it now, or just a running stitch. So the top of the mushroom itself is circular, and all of the little embellishments I'm adding to it now are also going to be circular. I just got a thing about circles. I really got into playing with circles. I've always loved circles as a motif, but when I was doing my colour inspiration journal, I just got obsessed with circles, and it's not gone off yet. So that is just a little line of straight stitch, which I think does add nice texture to it. It gets a little bit lost in the pile, but you can still see it, especially when it crosses into other colours, and that's kind of helping to blend that orange out into the surrounding areas. So I'm just going to do another little line of straight stitching now. Yeah, it's quite a different experience stitching into the velvet. It's lovely, it feels lovely to handle, but it also feels harder to get your stitches straight and even, but that is fine because that's not it's not important to me anyway. Embrace the wonk. And I did think maybe I could make the mushroom up first and then embroider it, and I could still add, but I just think it's going to be easier to do really what I want to do with it in my hand like this before I put it all together. So I'm having to avoid the temptation to go straight in and start assembling my mushroom. Okay, so I'm just going to do a lot of that kind of thing to add texture. I'm going to stitch all over this, and what I want is, as it is there, I want the stitching for the extra interest and texture, but you can still see the beautiful colours in this velvet, and you can still feel that lovely velvety texture. So that's kind of what I'm aiming at, and then I'll add some extra kind of dimension with colonial knots and things like that as well. So I'm going to carry on and do this, and as I'm stitching I'm starting to work through ideas of how the rest of it's going to go together. So fantastic, I'm so enjoying it. You can't help but enjoy this with all these lovely colours to play with. I have spent the entire afternoon doing this, but I've had a lovely time and I'm really happy with how that looks. I don't know how well it's going to show up on the camera because my camera doesn't like sparkles. So I really like the texture and extra interest that has added, but I also like that it hasn't taken away from the beautiful hand dyed velvet underneath. The texture is just fabulous. I've just got this last little bit of stitching to do, and then I'm gonna start working on shaping my mushroom, and I've thought of a couple of different ways that I could do it, and I will probably try both and report back to you. I don't think there's going to be a right or wrong way. Looking at some of the pictures of mushrooms that other people have made, there are lots of different takes on this idea. There's many different ways to do it as there are stitches. I'm going to make 3 of the mushrooms, I think, so I will be able to try a couple of different methods and decide which ones I like the best. I might just like them all. So a lot of this stitching has just been straight stitching like I'm doing now, just rows and rows of straight stitching and these lovely variegated threads. But I've also done some, let's have a look, see if I can get this to focus again. So there's some chain stitching there. That one is a whipped chain stitch. Here I've just done spokes to attach the big giant sequiny thing, and then done a line of stitches around it, kind of almost like a stem stitch, like overlapping kind of straight stitch all the way around. This is the pistil stitch, like a long stitch with a French knot on the end, and then in between I've got a detached lazy daisies. What else have I got there? The lazy daisy there. This is a bit of couching, nothing complicated at all. Quite like how this one turned out. So there's actually a bead in there. It was a bit of a waste of a pretty turquoise glass bead because you can't really see the bead anymore. I just went in and out of it and did these big straight stitches into the surrounding velvet in the variegated thread, and I love how that turned out. I love how the bead sort of embedded itself into the velvet. And here on that sequin I've done it's like an eyelet really. Yeah, same way as you would do an eyelet. The sort of blanket stitch all going into that middle hole. As I say, nothing complicated. I just kind of enjoyed myself, and I've been at that all afternoon and had a nice chill out. Now I'm getting into the slightly more complicated bit. I've decided I'm going to go purple. It's not often I'm drawn to purple. It's not a colour I work with an awful lot. But I just think purple would be nice, and it's also a question of what I've got available too. So yeah, I'm going with the purple, and I've thought of a couple of different ways I could tackle this. So I want to get the idea of rather than just do a kind of a straight piece, I want to get the idea of the gills on the underside of the mushroom. So I've got this piece that this template that Sue's given me, so I'm gonna, I think, give myself a piece of this to work around. So I will cut this out, and then I thought of a couple of different ways I could do it, and as I say, I think I would just try both. So I could use a piece of this and make like a giant Suffolk puff. If you imagine it, I think that could be one of the easiest ways to do it. Not giant really, but bigger than, you know, normally Suffolk puffs are about that size, aren't they? So I need it to be this size. So I definitely want to try that way. And the other way, I thought, is to just get a strip that will run all the way around. So I reckon I need it to be a generous gather. I reckon I need to make it about 4 times the circumference of my circle. So I dredged up the pie formulae out of my rusty bucket of a brain, and the formula to find the circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. In other words, twice r is the radius, so that's the point from the centre to the outside, so radius times 2, so that's diameter really, and pi is 3.14 or 22/7. It's really handy to know this little radius is 3.5 centimetres. 2 times 3.5 centimetres is 7 times pi is 3.14. So 7 times 3.14 comes to just under 22 centimetres. Maybe 3 times would do. I don't think double it would give me enough gathers. I'm going to go 4, and as it happens, this strip of fabric I happen to have is about 4 times the circumference of my circle. So I'm going to go with that and see how it goes. And I'll just keep a note for this first one, so if I find that's way more length than I needed, I'll just remember that for next time. I cut out my circle. I think you definitely could just make a Suffolk puff this size, gather up the mushroom to fit it, make sure you put the stuffing in before you close up the hole. I just feel like having this to work around is going to make it a little bit easier for me, so we'll see how it goes. I also found this stretchy stuff which I got in a freebie fabric bundle. It's a bit odd. It's got these kind of rubbery feeling dots on it, and it's stretchy. And I've always thought, what on earth am I going to do with that? But I haven't brought myself to throw it away. And actually, I'm thinking it would work quite well as a mushroom stalk. Again, I could use these lovely frayed edges as that top, you know, that indication of the frilly bit around the neck. I've got some of this silk sari ribbon, also with a frayed edge. I could just layer that up. Hopefully that's making sense. And I really want to do one with the Suffolk puff idea, so I think this is a recycled fabric from a bazaar pack, and I've got quite a lot of it, so I think this would be ideal to try out my Suffolk puff idea. I might save that for that one. And the stalk will have embroidery on it as well, and I might put some of this stuff or perhaps a thinner one in behind it, so I could stitch into it to give it a bit of texture. But at the moment what I need to do is run a length of running stitch, straight running stitch. I'll use my thread double all the way along this edge and this edge, so I'll be back in a moment when I've done that. Right, I'm just coming to the end of running my gathering stitch along this first edge. I frayed out the edges on both sides first. I've doubled up the thread, put a knot in the end and a double stitch when I started, and I'm just making kind of reasonable sized stitches all the way along, nothing fancy. Hopefully this will work. It's working in my head, but this could be one of those things that if it works out I could get addicted to making these in all different combinations of colours. I'm just thinking it could make a very fancy little pin cushion, couldn't it? Just coming to the end. I'm not going to worry about sewing the tube up down this side. I don't think I'm going to need to. Let's just leave it there so I can turn an end under and kind of ladder stitch the two edges together if I decide I want to. So now I'm just going to gather this all up, and this is where I'll find out if I've got about the right amount of length here, or it might be too much. And what I'm thinking here is I'm just going to gather it up completely, as much as it will, as tight as it will go. So I needed a thread double so I can really pull on it. Okay. Ooh, it's looking hopeful, isn't it? Now maybe I should join these two together. That's gathered up as tightly as it will go, but that's a nice amount of gather for the effect I want. Quite happy with that, very pleased with that. Okay, let's just put a little double stitch in here to anchor that. Just stitch those two together. It won't take me a minute to do. Doesn't need to be tidy, but I don't want it gapping because I'm going to stuff them, aren't I? So let's start with a little double stitch, and I'm just going to run a little small running stitch along here because I don't think it needs to be even a back stitch. It's not going to take a lot of. There we go. I've just done a small running stitch like that. I think that's enough. A little double stitch just to anchor it. So now the idea is that this will be gathered around my circle. Oh, I'm quite hopeful what this is gonna. Oh yes, I'm definitely getting mushroom vibes there. Good. What I'm going to do now is run another line of running stitch all around this edge, and then I'll gather it up, and as I gather it I will coax it over there over my circle of wadding there, of batting rather, so I'll end up with this kind of effect. Okay, back in a mo. Right, so I'm just coming to the end of that, of running my line of stitching all the way around this edge. Medium sized gathering stitch like that. Take it to the outside now just to make things easier, and it started to gather itself up already as I've gone along. Fingers crossed this is going to work. I'm just going to make sure this is nice and even. I'm going to pop my piece in here. Now I might find next time that I want to actually use a piece of card like that inside, but I'm going to try it without first because I can always ungather this if need be. Gathering this up, so I don't want to gather it up completely like that one, just these gathers so they're reasonably even. It might make it easier to have a solid card piece in there, but kind of, I don't know, I just didn't want it all stiff. I'm pretty happy with how this has worked out. So this 4 times length is about right, I would say. Put a little stitch in here. Could run a couple of stitches back and forth across here as well, just for belt and braces. Love the look of it all pleated up like that. So this bit's all going to be on the inside, it's not going to show. So I could just rearrange this a little bit if I need to. I like the look of, because of that kind of the marbly effect of that fabric. That's worked out really well. It feels lovely, that. So this will be where the stalk will attach. Now what I need to do is gather this piece up and turn the ends under as I go, and then stitch the two together, leave a little opening, and then add stuffing before I close it up. Okay, so again a line of gathering stitch around there. Just coming to the end of this, I've done a slightly smaller gathering stitch this time. Okay, I'm just going to take it to the outside, I think. So now I'm going to just gather it up. It won't need to be so gathered as that piece. It's almost stuffing itself, really. I'm not going to need a lot of stuffing. Okay, I reckon that's about right. Just put a little stitch to secure it a minute. Get my gathers fairly even. But I mean, mushrooms are sometimes very wonky, so I'm not going to worry too much. I'm excited now. So, you know, you could make it a smaller disc here and make this more sort of domed, you know, with just a smaller disc. Just depends on what shape you want them to end up, and sometimes they turn almost inside out, like chanterelle. Okay, so let's just put a little bit of stuffing. You could use orts here, it'd be a good way to use up your orts. I can let them kind of decide how they want to be, really, these mushrooms. Just let them happen. Okay, Right, so I think that's about the right amount of stuffing. I think what I'll do is just run a couple of stitches back and forth to hold this stuffing in place. I'm going to just use a ladder stitch to stitch the two pieces together, and I will, as I go, kind of try to roll the top slightly over the gills part, the underneath part. I'm in the purple at the moment. I'm going to go into the top piece, into the velvet here, go along a little bit, and then go into the purple again, go along a little bit, back into the velvet, along a little bit. I'm going to go all round like that. Those are fairly big stitches, but I think that will just anchor it together, and then I'll be able to tell if I need to do a bit more tweaking to get this to kind of roll over a little bit. Well, I decided with the stuffing it was just too much. I think because of the double thickness of quite a heavyweight cotton anyway, with the wadding inside. Had I done just the cotton without the wadding inside, wouldn't have been the case. I think I will have to play this by ear depending on what I'm using. I mean, if I was using this cotton, which is a lot thinner, probably wouldn't be so much the case, but as it is, unless I was making a much bigger dome, I don't think this needs stuffing. So I'm rethinking. I've left the gathers as they were, taken all the stuffing out, and I'm just kind of popping this inside. And then what I'm going to do is, again, I will ladder stitch it so it's reasonably invisible, and I will just work my way all the way around, just turning the ends under like that and ladder stitching from here to here. So what I'll get is, in effect, it's like the way the top of a mushroom kind of rolls over and the gills are inside like that. So I'm just going to hand stitch that round and just ladder stitch it in the same way I showed just now. I think that's ladder stitch, isn't it? Just like that, just to lose all the raw edges and get that turned under effect like that. And I think I'm going to be very happy with that. Just thought it was worth popping back to show you how this is going now. So I'm coming out at the edge, kind of at the edge of my gills piece, and then going in just sort of, I don't know, a few millimetres, half a centimetre into my velvet, because velvet will tend to fray at the edges if you're not careful, so I do want to make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm going in, coming out a little bit further along, making sure the edge tucks under as I pull it tight, and then back into the under piece again, going along a little way, pinning it tight, and I'm just going to keep doing that all the way along. And if I need to, I can go around again and adjust bits. Like I think maybe there, that's coming out in a bit of a funny point, I might just add another stitch there, or I might decide I don't need to. And what I like is that I'm finding this is automatically going into that lovely mushroom gill shape, which is exactly what I wanted. I'm so pleased with this, and I have a feeling this is going to be one of those things that every single one you do is going to come out completely different. Depending on what materials you're using, and I don't know, just sort of let it happen, let it go the way it wants to go. But the thing is that they're organic shapes, so no two are going to be the same in real life, are they? So that's how that's going to be looking. I think that's a really nice mushroomy shape. So I've just moved on to doing my stalk now, and here's my finished mushroom, which I quite like that it's gone slightly off to one side, a bit like mushrooms sometimes do. Yeah, very happy with that. So I just cut a little piece, slightly tapered it towards that end, Still, again, not sure this is going to work. Put the two pieces right sides together and just done a back stitch up either side. I've left my thread there because I'm going to use that for my gathering in a minute, and I did the same on this side, and I'm just going to gather around the bottom here, and I'm hoping this will give me a nice kind of rounded bottom to my mushroom stalk. So I'm going to do little gathering stitches all the way around, not too big this time because I don't want great big pleats in it. And I do think I'd like to try a stalk in a different way as well, where I use a bit of batting and actually kind of quilt some lines down it first, or little kind of dimples into it, because a lot of mushroom stalks do have quite a bit of texture on them. So, and I did think I would do some embroidery on the mushroom stalk first, the pieces, before I put it together, but really eager to actually assemble a mushroom now and see how it's looking. Got a feeling I will be making more, so all these different ideas that I've had while I've been sitting here stitching, or I can just try them out on the next ones. So I'm just going to gather that right up. I should have done that with a double thread, but it seems to be okay. Turn it right way out, and then I'm going to stuff it with some of that polyfill. You could definitely wire the shape of the stalk as well, and I think it would be quite fun to just run a little gathering stitch along one of the seams that would then make the whole stalk just kind of curl a bit. I just think there's just endless possibilities with this. I also want to make some felted mushrooms, so they'll all sit quite nicely together, I think. They vary such a lot, they mushroom stalks, don't they? Tall leggy ones and short squat ones, some with hardly any stalk at all. Sometimes if you've got a lump, if you're going through the outside, you can sort of rearrange it with your needle. Okay, it seems to be working fairly well. One little more bit more. It's always amazing how much stuffing you need. Quite fun to do little knitted or crocheted stalks as well. Okay, I'm going to gather around the top of this now. So this fabric has got a slight stretch in it. I think it's probably helpful, but not essential. If you wanted more of a shaped, because some of the stems of mushrooms can be quite kind of almost bulbous, can't they, sort of shaped like that, you would have to stitch it in, you know, perhaps make 4 panels instead of 2 to help you give it that shape. Like I say, I quite fancy the idea of doing a deliberately oversized decorative stitch on it. Or doing like a feather stitch all down the seam, something like that. I think that'd be quite fun. I kind of feel like I wish I'd made that narrower at the top, so I think subsequent ones I will make them narrower at the top. But I could also, it's only just occurred to me that you could take your embroidery threads and wrap them as well. I'd want a matching thread, but that could, yeah, you could add a bit of interest that way. Okay, so this is gonna fit onto my mushroom there, and then I'm going to put my decorative pieces, which I've now managed to lose. Here they are. They're going to get stitched around the top, so I think for this one, I think I might save this to go with the next one because it fits so nicely with that. Where's that other bit that I had? Oh, I've lost it. Huh. I've dropped it on the floor. So I'll probably mess up this edge a little bit more, cut a little piece of that. Yeah. Just got to try and imagine how that will look. Yeah. Okay, so now what I really do need to take this downstairs and along with all my threads and see what I can do with this. Yeah. And I think I'll still be able to do some embroidery stitches into this, even though it's all put together and stuffed already. I still think I'll be able to. It looks like a sausage, the weirdest sausage ever. Yeah, very happy with that. Very happy. I think if anything, I probably would have made this stalk, and I might still change it, either shorter, that sort of height, or narrower. So chances are, by the time you see this again, I'll have decided to either make it taller and thinner like that. Yeah, that's better. Or I'll cut down the length a bit. I think it needs to be one or the other. Yeah, I think I'm going to make it thinner. So, but it won't take me long. You can see how quick that was. Okay, so by the time you see this mushroom again, it's going to be finished and I'll be starting on the next one. New obsession. Yet another new obsession. Okay, so what I've started doing now is just shaping this stem a little bit. So it's stuffed, but it's not stuffed that tightly. I'm able to pinch it together like this and just take it in a little bit. And I can't be too controlled over what shape this is going to end up, but I see that as a bonus. And I love that now I've got all these rows of stitching up here, which I can go over. I can put more decorative stitching over the top. I'm going to really enjoy that. As I say, this is stretchy fabric. I think this approach would work with non-stretchy fabric as well, actually. So as I do this, it's narrowing it down. I'm pinching it together more at the top and then rounding it out at the bottom. And that's giving it a slight bend as well, which I quite like. So you can see that's making that nice kind of quite organic shape. And now I will just be able to, I'm going to go, because my mushroom top is automatically shaped, it's automatically leaning over that way kind of thing. I'm going to go with that. So that will go in like that. Oh, I'm very, very happy with how that's working out so far. And then I've just got to add my little frills on my extra bits of stitching. For my very first effort, I'm thrilled to bits with that. Okay, next time you see me, this will be finished. Good morning. It's the next day. I'm up really early. I'm still sat here in my PJs, but I was so excited about how my mushroom turned out. I couldn't wait to come and show you who he is. How cute is that? Oh, how weird would it be to see a mushroom like that in the woods? I used some of the orts left over from the project to go on the bottom too. You know, if you actually pull a mushroom up by the root, you get those kind of little rooty bits, don't you? Yeah. So here's the finished
thing. I am so chuffed with how this turned out, and I'm brimming with ideas for more as well. It was actually very easy to embroider on this when it was already stuffed. So I guess another time I could do this embroidery when it's already stuffed as well. I don't know. It would be a bit more awkward though. So yeah, I'm going to try a couple of other methods of doing this, like I mentioned, and some different stalk shapes. I think everyone will just turn out very different. So yeah. I'm thrilled to bits with that for a first attempt. I'm absolutely thrilled to bits. Thank you so much again to Sue for sending me this beautiful velvet I've still got in my old bag of goodies here. I took it all downstairs with me last night. I was sat there stitching till it's been at least 2:30. Here it is. So I've still got enough to make at least a couple more. So I might try a slightly different shaped cap this time, and maybe slightly shorter stem, or I'll try like bending the stem, see what I can do. I don't know, there's all sorts of, there's so many different ideas, and a different colourway next time, I think. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that. I found it inspiring. If you ever go out making some mushrooms, please do share them in the Discord community or the Facebook group. I will do the same. I'd love to see other people's versions of these. I just think they're going to be addictive to do. I just love it. I was trying to say, if you haven't joined our free Discord community or the Arty Farty Annie Facebook, the Arty Farty Annie group on Facebook yet, I will put my link tree in the description box. So if you just click on that, that takes you to my link tree, and then click on a Facebook group or Discord, and we'll see you there. Thank you so much again to Sue for sending that beautiful little mini kit for me. I've had an absolute blast with it, and I sense a whole new rabbit hole here. I'm trying to see what Sue does, because she's going to make some as well. That's the what inspired her to do that velvet in the first place, so I can't wait to see it. Sue's going to be fabulous at that, I know she is. Thanks again for joining me today, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye. Go back to my coffee now.